fire and police and line maintenance and street maintenance, they're all out there working.
We are waiting for a couple of other folks to join us to have quorum, and then we'll get started. All right, good morning. We have our quorum, so we will go ahead and get our meeting started. First, I want to call the meeting to order and say Happy New Year. Hope everyone had good holidays, whether it was fun and active or quiet and relaxing, but glad that you're here, and thank you for getting out in the weather and being with us today for our MAPS meeting. Our first item is approval of minutes for the December 5th, 2024 MAP Citizens Advisory Board meeting. Those were included in your packet. If there's any changes or revisions. Okay, if not, I'd take a motion in a second to approve. Is everybody voted? Yeah, there we go. Great. Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to item 2B, receive the MAPS 4 monthly financial report ending November 30th, 2024.
Thank you. You have your report in your packet in its usual form. I'll go over it real quickly with the highlights. On the revenue side, for the month, $11,420,795. For a fiscal year of $60,213,827, and a total on the revenue of $619,319,951, and we remain 3.1% above projections. On the expenditure side for the month, $6,245,667, fiscal year of $30,401,697, and a total of $245,464,914. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer those.
Any questions? If not, I'd take a motion in a second to proceed. Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to item 2C, presentation on the MAPS 4 long-range transit plan.
So as part of the MAPS program, we have funds to help Embark with their long-range transit plan, as it's titled. And Luke Schmidt is here just to give you an update on the work that they've been doing up to this point.
Welcome, Luke.
Great. Thank y'all. My name is Luke Schmidt. I'm here to present on the Central Oklahoma Long Range Transit Plan as part of the Kinley Horn team. I'm joined today with Jesse Rush, the Administrator and Director of COTPA, as well as John Sharp, the Deputy Director of ACOG. So I'm reminded today that Embark service doesn't stop, and neither does the Long Range Planning team when it snows. So excited to talk with y'all today. Couple things wanted to talk today about a project overview, as well as vision and goals and a project schedule, just to get y'all up to speed on the work we've been doing over the last few months. From a project overview standpoint, there's been a lot of transit planning work done over the last 2 to 3 decades across central Oklahoma, from the fixed guideway study to the regional transit dialogue, as well as a lot of great work that's been done by the different operating partners in cities in central Oklahoma. So today we're really building on the great work that's been done and extending the horizon on those plans, especially with the work that the Regional Transportation Authority has done with multiple high-capacity transit corridors, as well as the MAPS 4 planning and locally preferred alternative that was finalized last year as well. So we'll be building on all of those great high-capacity corridor studies that have already been done. As well with this project, a lot of partnership over the last handful of months and ongoing with both CityLink Edmond and Embark Norman, as well as the City of Norman and the City of Edmond have been heavily involved in the planning work as well. And the other thing I'd like to point out too is this project has a significant amount of MAPS 4 funding, but ACOG as well has contributed to the planning work, and the intent is that this great transit work will be rolled into the next ACOG plan as well. So really exciting opportunity, partnership across the region. So our plan itself will focus on 3 things: the what, the when, and the how. The what is really focused on assessing the local service and making it more dynamic and proactive for operations as the region continues to grow and transit continues to evolve. The when is really focused on defining clear recommendations to achieve an integrated network in the future. And the how is identifying investments over the next 30 years that'll really be focused on a long-term transit vision. So with any great planning exercise, we have 3 stages in this project. The first phase is assess, which we've been in the last 3 or 4 months. Assess has really been focused on identifying the current and future needs, as well as identifying a baseline and a future priorities for all of the cities and operators involved. We'll be rolling into the evaluate phase in the coming weeks to look at different scenarios and look at a network development as well as evaluating those scenarios. Then last, we'll be wrapping up this plan with a recommend phase focused on all the different recommendations from facilities to capital to service. With this plan, there's many project outcomes that we're focused on. First and foremost is as service expands, facilities and staffing and fleet is going to be a critical element to be looked at. So that's a piece that we'll be evaluating. We'll also be looking at risks and what that looks like as the transit system continues to develop in the region. We're also going to focus on programmatic level cost estimates. So as these recommendations, as we look on the horizon at the recommendations, that'll have an identified cost. And then with this plan, we want to focus on future-proofing the plan itself. We want this to serve the region for the next 30 years. So providing opportunities for this to be, have small updates to continue to transform as transit changes in the region. Also with this plan, we want to look at phasing, how we can take incremental steps to implement the long-term vision. And then last but not least, we're going to perform a peer review of different operators in other communities to look at how a system with multiple operators can function in an integrated way and some recommendations related to that. So currently we're in the assess phase. We've done a lot of stakeholder interviews as well as had a really robust workshop in December to better understand needs and priorities going into this study. We're rolling into the evaluate phase now to better look at different scenarios and look at the vision on how we can implement. We'll be kicking off the public engagement on this project in the coming weeks. The project website will be live at the end of this week, and we'll have a virtual town hall at the end of the month to really kickstart the feedback from the public as well. So over the last few months, we've really focused on the vision and the goals for the project and for the region. So we want to spend a little bit of time talking about that as well. So first, let's talk about goals. So all of the project team and project partners have all worked together to develop these 4 goals. These will be the evaluation framework that we'll use to look at all the future scenarios. First goal is to provide communities with meaningful access to transit. That's really getting at the current and future needs of the study area. The second goal is creating a compelling, reliable rider experience. So this is focused on both access within each of the cities in the study as well as access between the cities. Offer competitive service options. This is looking at attracting both transit-dependent and choice riders. And then last but not least is utilizing resources effectively. We know we live in a fiscally constrained environment, so coming up with recommendations that really achieve the vision that are fiscally responsible. So now I want to talk a little bit about the vision, which is the really exciting part of this plan. With all the great work that's been done, there's a lot of projects that will be built into this plan. First and foremost, we have resource projects. So these are projects that are either constructed or projects that have a level of funding. So Northwest Rapid is currently open. Northeast and South, the MAPS 4 BRT corridors have MAPS 4 funding for implementation that's ongoing. As well as OKC Moves has funding for short-term improvements. The second bucket of projects is what we're calling catalytic regional projects. So these projects will dynamically change the way transit is used in central Oklahoma. Projects like that include the North-South Commuter Rail Corridor under RTA, as well as the RTA Santa Fe Depot improvements. And then last but not least, OKC Moves long-term improvements. So a lot of catalytic projects in the next 10 to 15 years that are anticipated in the region. And then last but not least is what we're calling the unconstrained regional projects. So these are projects that are more as we approach the 30-year horizon, the RTA Airport Corridor, the RTA East Corridor and West Corridor, as well as potential streetcar extensions and even Northwest Rapid extension. So these are all projects that make up the vision of this plan. Alongside that, local service will be a great opportunity to realign with these regional high-capacity corridors. We'll be looking at service type, operations, and what facilities could look like as part of this plan to recognize those regional connections that the vision corridors represent. So that'll be a significant focus as well on this long-range plan. So just want to talk quickly about schedule. We started this planning process in August of last year. Have had a lot of stakeholder engagement with all the different communities and operators in the area. We'll be wrapping up the assess phase at the end of this month and rolling into the evaluate phase of the project. Throughout the project, though, we've had a lot of coordination with the RTA as well as the other operators and that I mentioned previously. But with all the great work being done, it's important to be coordinated throughout this process. Last but not least, the project website that'll be live later today is connectcentralok.com. And we'll have information on that about the virtual town hall that is on January 30th from 11:30 to 1. So with that, love to open up to any questions.
Luke, thank you. Any questions? No? Okay. Appreciate the very comprehensive, I mean, it's high-level summary, but the comprehensive look at how you're approaching all of these projects. So thank you very much.
Great.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Okay, moving on to item 2D, recommend approval of final plans and specifications to be advertised for bid for the MAPS 4 bike lanes Phase 1A, Northwest 16th and Northwest 19th Streets between Overholster Drive and Indiana.
So this is another piece of our bike lanes projects. Josh Malwick from Consor Engineering is here to go through what's included in this set of plans.
Morning, Josh.
Good morning. Thank you. Like David said, my name is Josh Malcolm with Consor Engineers, and we'll go through the Phase 1A bike lane. This is the last bike project as a part of the Phase 1 MAPS projects. So this is going to be the west crosstown connection. It'll go from northwest, it'll go along Northwest 16th and Northwest 19th. It'll start out over at the Lake Overholser Trail, eventually tying into Indiana Avenue, roughly 7.2 miles of total length. The goals of the project were to add bike facilities to the existing roadway, provide that connection from the Overholser Trail to the downtown area, and then focus on improving cyclist safety and visibility along the routes. This is just an overview of the proposed route. You can see where it starts there on the west end at Overholser. It makes a jog from 16th to 19th at Tulsa, and then it ends at Indiana. There's a little jog down Indiana that it goes connecting to the Watch For Me and the sales tax projects as well. We did have to make a little bit of a change to the tiers. This was proposed along Northwest 16th to be a Tier 2 facility. However, because of the available width, we had to make some adjustments. So we were able to throw some Tier 1 in there. I actually put some protected bike lanes using the armadillos. I'll show you what the armadillos are here in a moment. So we got about a mile and a quarter of a mile at Rockwell, and then the full mile between MacArthur and Meridian. We were able to get to Tier 1 in there. So just as a reminder, we do need 32 feet for the Tier 1 standard bike lanes. That way we're able to get 11-foot driving lanes, which is about the smallest we can go with the driving lane, and then get the 5-foot bike lanes in there. The Tier 3 requires the 22-foot wide roadway, and then we center the Sharrow, the pavement marking along the best part of the alignment. And I say it like that because we need to have the best alignment for where the vehicles are going to be driving along 19th Street, where there's the center median that divides traffic. We'll be putting that more towards the median side, centering it kind of there because it's 18 feet wide versus just the 11-foot wide. So this is the armadillo that we'll be using. It's mounted to the pavement. You can see in that bottom picture, this is more along the lines of what we'll be installing because it will just be a single line. It won't actually have a buffer there. When we have this application in a buffer, we're able to actually put it in on a 45-degree skew along the buffer. So the 16th and 19th Street improvements, we were able to add 377 Sharrows, roughly a mile and a half of Tier 1 bike lanes. We will be doing pavement repairs along the routes to make sure that what we're putting down on the pavement is adequate and that the route is as best as possible, the surface is as best as possible for cyclists that will be traveling along it. We're going to update detection to radar detection where it isn't. At the 5 intersections you can see there, it was either a FLIR, a loop detection, or a video detection, so we're updating it to meet the city's standards. We are signalizing the May Avenue and 19th Street intersection. This was approved by Traffic Commission, I think in 2021. There, they wanted to actually add left turn lanes, but because of the available space and the amount of right-of-way and homes that we would end up having to take to put left turn lanes in, we're just going to add signals to this intersection. We're also updating the pedestrian infrastructure, so we'll have all current ramps, all the ADA will meet. We're going to add the crossing there at the median on the east side, which is the bottom side of the image there. All new push buttons and pedestrian signal equipment as well. Like I had said, we did have to make some adjustments to the tiers as is presented in the current bike walk. It does show to be a tier 2, but because of that space, we had to change it to the tier 3. Just the available width was just too narrow, but we are going to be able to install those armadillos at the bike lanes to provide a little bit more visibility and protection. So the schedule will be go to council next week, and then we'll immediately turn around and go to bid, hopefully awarding it in March, and then wrapping up construction likely in late fall. As far as it goes with budget, we had $3.4 million for the project with the construction cost estimate just under 2.4, so we'll have a surplus budget of a little over $1 million. The public information website's been quite successful. As of yesterday, we had 724 hits to the site with about 255 downloads of the documents that we put on the site to provide the information as to what the bike lanes, what each one of these projects is. And if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Josh? Okay, anybody? Okay, fantastic. Oh, you said yes.
Just comment,
I thought you said
please,
no.
if that's okay.
Yes, Chelsea.
Thank you for this. I love bike lanes. As you guys probably know, if you've heard me speak several times, I love transit and bike lanes and sidewalks. So this is right up my alley. I know the city is working on a current Vision Zero plan that focuses specifically on safety for multimodal users that are people not in a car. So I think I really just want to call out, I appreciate this work and that MAPS is doing this work, because in some of the review that we've seen, it's upwards of 70% of people that would use more bike lane, or would ride a bike and would use these bike lanes as we build out this infrastructure. So I just want to call out, as we're doing these things, to remember that people are being surveyed now and they want this infrastructure. So it's really awesome that we get to do this and provide this as part of this plan. And then I guess my question is, what is the plan for the $1 million surplus? Is it looking for other opportunities for armadillos, or what are we doing there?
We'll just, it stays in the account, and we will continue to do as many bike lanes as we can. So it'll just continue to push the program forward.
So we get more miles for those dollars.
Love it, love it, love it. Awesome. Thanks so much.
Okay, anything else for Josh? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, if there's no questions, I would take a motion in a second to approve the recommendation. Please cast your votes. Recommendation is approved. Thank you. Moving on to item 2E, recommend approval of site evaluation report for the MAPS 4 multipurpose stadium.
Right, so moving on to the multipurpose stadium, we've seen the site, the land that has been provided, and Kevin Cook from Populous is here to talk about their analysis for the stadium and how it would fit into that site.
Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning. Good to see you all again. Kevin Cook with Populous, and just to add what David just mentioned, so we've been in the site evaluation phase so far in this work. We haven't really gotten into too much design or anything. This really evolved around getting the site and test fitting to make sure the site is adequate for a stadium and the future hopes of the stadium. So I'll run through this presentation and go from there. So just a quick overview or agenda here. We're going to do a project overview. We'll talk about the site selection, site evaluation, and some next steps. So I wanted to add this just to kind of recap or re-show this to all of you again here, just really what we're working with here with the multipurpose stadium. There's basically two phases right now. The first phase is our initial phase, and it's what's funded as part of the MAPS 4 program today. It's going to be around 10,000 seats. It's a USL men's ready stadium that will also have women's soccer capabilities and be ready for that. But being a multi-purpose stadium, it needs to be able to host other things like a concert venue. We're looking to do elevated patron facilities. That's for the guests that come to the facility, and elevated team facilities. We're looking at the idea of a partial canopy over the seating for shading, and then auxiliary locker rooms for other events. And that comes with a construction budget of around $5.7 million. Looking ahead to a future expansion where there's currently not any funding for this piece yet, but the goal would be to eventually get to a full MLS experience type stadium with the ability to get up to 20,000 additional seats. And here we would upgrade the facilities for both patron and an MLS and MWLS, so men's and women's team facilities, and also a full canopy over all of the seating. Not a dome, not over the field, but canopy just over the seating. So these are the aspirations and goals of the future expansion of this project, but we're currently working with just task one. But as part of this site evaluation, we had to think about both phases to make sure that the site can accommodate the future goals here. So the site selection, just as a recap, I know a couple months ago in November, I believe it was, Echo Soccer donated around 9 acres of land down in south of Bricktown to the city. That was approved by City Council, and the stadium location is part of a larger master plan development in that area. So we're looking at that area here, and it kind of creates this nice quadrant of facilities here between the existing Bricktown Ballpark, the Paycom Center or NBA Arena area, the new Convention Center area, and then this new quadrant down in south of Bricktown for the soccer stadium. And then this is a view of just really that this parcel is outlined here is the actual 9 acres that were donated. As you can see, there's a little bit of an orientation to these 9 acres as part of the development and master planning here, with the goal to hopefully have a stadium that can have some views and facing certain directions towards the city. And so here's just a very conceptual master plan thought of what could be around here. None of this is set in stone or been developed really any further than what you see here today, but just looking at how this overall district could be laid out. Just to be clear, our portion of work is just the stadium. Everything else around it is private development and part of a larger master plan approach here. But this is where we're looking to fit it. And so as we zoomed in on this boundary line, this kind of rectangular shape, the goal here was to test fit this size with current MLS stadium sizes and requirements. And there's plenty of space there to do that, which is really the goal here of this task. And we can confirm that we can fit that. Now, some of the other amenities that people have been asking about, parking and other type of facilities and what goes around it, that's to be determined yet. We'll come back with that information as we get farther into the design phase, but right now we just needed to test that the stadium can sit here. So part of the site evaluation process was really to look at those existing 9 acres and understand what's within that space. So we had a full site survey done. And as many of you know, that's the old co-op land area that was removed and demolished. And so it's kind of just a big open field area right now. There's a few different landowners, but as far as this parcel goes, there's not a lot going on in that space today. There's very little change in elevation and topography, which is good. So it's mostly a flat site, so there won't be a lot of earth demolition and things that needs to be done for the new stadium. And there's very few utilities on this site today. As we look at this a little bit closer, on the left, you have the current existing electrical utilities, and really most of that is overhead power lines that will be removed and changed out. The drawing to the right is the AT&T survey. There's no fiber or communications at all on this site. And the next slide here is the existing water. This is where most of the utilities that are there today. You see some of the blue and some of the orange lines or yellow lines. Those represent water and storm sewer. So there is water to the site and storm sewer, but we'll have to look at doing some work to either work around or tie into those systems or potentially remove and change some of those when the new stadium goes in. The good news is there's not a lot there that's going to impact us to have to make a lot of changes up front to get going. Maybe the alternative side of that is there's nothing there that we're going to have to bring a lot of new things to this area. So that's good, though. We'll have a nice clean slate to work from and be able to serve the building as we need it. So a couple of quick next steps after this task is when things really get fun and exciting for us. We'll jump into the preliminary report phase. That's 180 days long. We'll be working on just the first phase, just to be clear, that's the 53 million construction budget. It's when we start to work on design and develop design studies. And one of the first things we're looking to start next month is some visioning sessions with stakeholders to make sure that we're hearing what everyone really wants this stadium to be, things they feel are really important for it to be the most successful for the community and for the team. And then we'll start working on a 3D model and drawings, and we'll have some renderings to hopefully show here in the coming months, which will lead to this design report and an initial cost estimate. I think that's my last slide. So any questions up to this point?
Any questions for Kevin? Yes, Chelsea.
Very excited. Also love soccer. Are there any specific stadiums or recent developments that you're looking at as examples of how to build this out that I would just love to do some due diligence myself, basically?
Well, coming from Kansas City, the newest stadium there is the new women's stadium that was built in Kansas City, and that's one we have looked at and have done a tour of up to this point. So that's good. But Populous has done a handful of other USL stadiums that don't get quite as much recognition to go along with all the MLS stadiums that we have done, quite a few. So we have a good range of experience, and we've been talking to the city, and we'll talk to the stakeholders here next month about things they've seen at other facilities and maybe ones that they'd like us to learn more about so that we can compare some things. Obviously, we have a limited budget here that we're going to have to be mindful of where we want to spend our money, but there are some good examples out there.
So as Kevin said, we are going to start stakeholders meetings, and you are part of the stakeholders, and we're going to set up smaller group meetings with you, probably virtually, because Kevin's in Kansas City, and I do want to commend Kevin for making it down from Kansas City this week through the ice. His wife didn't want him to come, but
Well, tell her
anyway,
thank
that's
you.
on the horizon.
Take that off the record.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Teresa,
Yes, Bob?
just my comment that at our venue subcommittee meeting Wednesday, we had a lot of questions of Kevin, but he had to remind us that all of our questions were, okay, 3 or 4 steps down the way in terms of what the stadium would look like and where the parking would be and things like that. And, he reminded us properly that this was just a site evaluation, a very, very first step, and just making sure that utilities and all of that are not problematic for us, and that this site will work from that very early standpoint. And we'll see Kevin a lot over the next few months as this evolves through the various stages. But our questions are very similar to the ones that you had today, and so we just had to. Okay, I understand. This is early. We'll see you next time.
Give Kevin a chance to
That's right.
get more information.
That's right.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions for today? Kevin, thank you very much for making it, and please travel home safely.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 2F, recommend approval of final plans and specifications to be advertised for the MAPS 3 Senior Health and Wellness Center, number 4 additional improvements.
Right, so this is MAPS 3, and yeah, you got
Oh,
it
I'm
wrong,
so
Heather.
sorry. I am so sorry. Kevin, I got so excited about what our next meetings, I forgot. So we need to motion in a second to approve the site plan or report. Please cast your votes. Motion passes. I'm very lucky to have people keep me on task. Now, moving on to the MAPS 3 Senior Health and Wellness.
Right, so this is Senior Health and Wellness Center 4 and some additional improvements. There has been additional improvements to the other, certainly to what we call reference 1 and 2 additions, and Michael Seagroves from GSB is here to go through what we're proposing for this project.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Just to bring you up to speed on this project that we're adding on to, the existing building is here at 134th and Southwestern, operated by the YMCA, and it's doing incredibly well for them. Our project right now is focused on the southeast corner of the building to bring 4 outdoor pickleball courts and fencing for it, lights and shades, if those can be absorbed into the alternate budget, and paving to get you in and around the building. And we have 4 courts back to back with a fence in the center to keep people from backing into each other. Benches and trash receptacles, and as a part of the alternate, there are sunshades and light poles to allow people to play pickleball as late as they feel. There'll be lights here along the north and south edges, one in the center, and then under these sunshades as well. We're estimating right at $544,000 for the base bid. Hopefully it comes in better. Another $300,000 for the enhancements to the sunshades, light fixtures, and bringing electricity from the building to the site. Our construction budget is $550,000. We're $5,800 under budget, and we anticipate having a pre-bid later this month, going to bid in February, and getting started in March, wrapping up in July.
I'll send it to you.
Any questions?
Okay, any questions? Yes. No, Jessica? No? Okay, all right, fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So with that, we need a motion and a second to approve the plan. Please cast your votes. Motion passes. Thank you. So moving on to item 3, discussion items. Do we have anything? Okay. Item 4, subcommittee reports. Any subcommittee reports? Jessica?
We, neighborhoods. I'm sorry, I'm having some. We met with the artists.
Okay.
I should have gone last. On Tuesday, the final 3 who were vetted by the selection committee from the Arts Commission, as well as members of the neighborhood subcommittee, which is where the animal shelter falls under for MAPS 4. They came out and toured. They were from all over the United States. They came to get our feedback on what we would like to see, which is human-animal bonding and relationship. So very excited to see what they bring back to that subcommittee and that selection committee.
Great. Okay. Anything from
Sorry.
venues, Bob? Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Great. Update status for MAPS 4 program. Mr. Todd.
Just real quick, Coliseum remains under construction and going exceptionally well. Diversion hub's under construction, but weather's slowed us down a little bit. But I think the exciting news is that the animal shelter will bid next week.
Oh, great. How are we feeling about that?
Bids next week.
Okay. Okay, moving on to item 6, comments by board, staff, and citizens. Any citizens? No? Staff comments? Anything? Okay, any board comments?
I do want to thank everybody for making it here today, making sure we get our business done, and thank staff for being here also, because they're the ones that make this happen.
Absolutely. I was going to do the same thing. Thank you all for being here, and staff, you could have taken a sick day, but we really appreciate you being here so that we could have our meeting and get our business done. As I said previously, Happy New Year, and 2025 is going to be an active year for us, so get ready. All right, with that, we are adjourned. Travel safely.